Alright, this is the last of the Patreon week videos, and I know, it's been more than a week, so it's taken me a while to get to it, but we're there. And Chris asked, I'd like to know more about your signal chain and how you get your audio into your DAW. So we're going to do this in two parts, but firstly, I don't edit in a DAW, I edit everything inside of Final Cut, and the reason I do that is because I want the audio, the sound to actually match the visuals I'm seeing, rather than having a studio sounding track and then you're looking at something that doesn't look like it's in a studio. It's overproduced, it's over polished for the visual that we're getting. So this is going to be broken into two parts. The first part I'm just going to use, which is this video, I'm just going to use the camera audio, which is really not great, but you'll understand the process I go through of how we can actually get a really nice result, I think, even from some not great audio. And then in part two, which will be the next video, which will at some stage appear on a little card here, I will go through how I mix and the signal chains that I'm normally recording, which is into the live track L8 desk, and then again inside of Final Cut how I edit that. So long intro, but let's dive into how I mix inside of Final Cut, starting with just the camera audio and a little demo that I recorded for you all. This is a song of mine called Love in an Instant. I have tweaked the visuals so that it looks a little bit nicer, and as you can see, we've got not much audio happening here. There's really not a lot of signal. So it's clean, but it's a very low volume, and the first thing I want to do is I'm going to add a compressor to just level that a little bit, very subtly, but it also means that I can raise the level to a much nicer overall level to here. I'm going to go into my plugins. You'll have different ones. I really like the Waves compressor, so I'm going to add that. Then we're going to go down and basically, again, I add a compressor. I'm going to do this pretty quickly. Just find a pretty short attack, and what I want to find is the level that this starts picking up audio. So I am watching this gain reduction, and that's pretty good. I'm leaving most of the signal, and we're just going to shorten that release for now. Cool. So now what I want to do is, here there's a manual makeup, and I'm just going to pause this. I'm going to make up that gain, which is going to be a lot, so that I can get these levels up to a reasonable signal. So somewhere about there. So that's my first step. I've now got, there we go. The next thing, I add an EQ. So I'm just going to find any strange frequencies, pull out any things that are odd. And this is the EQ from Logic, I believe. So depending on what you've got installed, you'll have different programs running. And I'm just going to find a nice part where I'm singing, open this channel EQ, and then what I'm going to do is
catch my eye
find
the I'm hypnotized in this sweet moment, and you flicker and smile, and I don't know what to do.
So I should say it's very interesting doing this. This is very slow and laggy on my computer at the moment because I'm recording the screen at the same time. My computer is struggling, but we will get there for you.
Love in an instant, baby, it's true, I got it. Bad case of falling for you. Well,
somewhere around there, we're getting a little bit of extra boominess that I don't really want. And looks like somewhere here as well. Let's just see if we can find that.
An instant, that's where it lives here. Little moments like this.
Computer's struggling. So what I'm looking for is the areas that to me hurt. that's the best way to put it. I'm looking for those little areas that feel a little bit painful, if you like, and just taking those out. Let's just see. It's gone very slowly.
Falling for you, well, love in an instant, that's where it lives here. Little moments like this.
Oh, this is really challenging to do with a computer that's this laggy at the moment, I'll be honest. But there's the joy of screen recording.
Lazy Sunday, wind in my face.
So somewhere there, we might have to just kind of roll with it a little bit for this example, because what's happening is it's getting a little bit delayed with my old laptop. But anyway, and let's just go. I'm just going to take out a bunch of this bottom end, at the same time boosting just a little bit of that where the last part of, I guess, the guitar's frequencies between 50 and 100 for any time that I've got a slap or something in there. And I'd say that we might just add, just listening to it, a little bit of top end, but
look up, you catch my eye in 4
okay,
minutes.
it's reasonably balanced. No worries, we've got a reasonable level. There's quite a big change still between the audio levels. If you look here, we've got reasonably high signal, and then when it drops to the guitar, it's disappearing. So what I'm going to do is now add another compressor just to polish the overall levels just a little bit. And I really like, there's a bunch of presets in this wave stuff that I really like, so I'm just going to use one of those as a starting point. And then what I'm going to do is, again, just set the threshold now to capture those little bits that stick out. So somewhere here, it's very amusing how slow my computer is right now. Again, I want this on gain reduction. So nothing much happening.
Baby, it's true, I
just want to
bad case of falling for you. Well, love in an instant, that's where it lives here.
Hey. Oh, I think we broke it. Alright, I probably want to just duck down a little bit more. And what I'm aiming for, if you look at the waveform of this, is I really want on this not really any compression happening in this section where it's just guitar. So I'm going to let that naturally, and we're just going to add a bit of compression where I'm singing here to even it up.
Baby, I got it bad
And effect.
falling for you. Well,
So all
love
good.
in an instant, that's where it lives here. Little moments
And then here,
like this.
we're not really hitting that threshold, so there's no compression happening. Wonderful, I'm happy with that. Now the next step that I do is I want to use this a little bit like a door, and that is I would like to send for let's put a reverb and a little delay, just to add a bit of love. This is me sitting in a room. I think I just did a Twitch stream, live stream with gear set up, and then filmed this. And so what I do is I like to copy this. So in Final Cut, if you hold Option, and then I'm just going to drag that down, making sure it's not skipped forward or back, and I'm going to right click, detach the audio, so I can delete that second track. And now what I have is I have the video with the audio, which has the two compressors and the EQ we applied, and then this audio has those things copied as well. So it's got the same thing. It should still be nice and balanced, but at the moment we have two audio files of exactly the same thing. And what I'm going to do with the second one is make it 100% wet signal, so 100% reverb, no original audio, and similar for the delay. So again, I might tweak this in a bit more detail, but I really like the Sound Toys plugins. Again, whatever plugins you have will show up inside of Final Cut, and I really like this little plate reverb, and so I'm going to add that on, and we're going to take it down to about a second. The mix is 100% wet. We'll just tweaking these from a rough memory, and what will happen is if I hit V to cancel out that, disable that original audio, that's 100% reverb. And so now what I have is the volume level here is purely controlling the reverb. So if we hit V again, that's back on, and we will add the reverb, set a level. So no reverb.
Lazy Sunday, wind in my face.
Bit too much, it's quite slow.
You touch my skin, my heart starts to race while I'm
So somewhere there, sounds a whole lot nicer already.
'Cause it's love in an instant, baby.
And I like to have the reverb where it's there, but it's not noticeable, it's not really standing out. You notice it if it goes. So for example, that's with the reverb.
Falling for you, well, loving
That's without the reverb.
That's where it lives here. Little moments.
For the purpose of this, I think that's a really nice result. Sometimes I would put a little delay on as well, just to thicken the audio, but I think that's a really good result. And I really like this concept of using two copies of the audio to use this second one as a level for the reverb. Now, one other tool that I use when I record or do things like this is just an overall check, and Final Cut's not great for audio getting the level. So if I was putting something out, I could happily put that out now. We've got a reasonable level, I've got a reasonable mix, I've taken out any awkward EQs, feels good. What I can do And if I was going to release something to Spotify or the likes, I would run it through a mastering program. And there's an amazing bunch of options right now. And the one that I use is Isotope, Ozone 8. And what I would do is I'd export this. So master file, love in an instant, audio editing that can stay as it is. So let's go pre-mix. Sounds like a night out on the town. Anyway, while that's exporting, it means I'll just get the audio in a WAV file, and then what I'm going to do is put it into Isotope's Ozone 8, and it has a beautiful mastering option. We've added that in now to Isotope, and it has this beautiful thing, which is just, this really helped me learn what was going on in my mixes along the way. So it has this option where I can choose a part of the song. I can go to its master assistant, say, look, I'm going for streaming. This is you'll figure out there's a lot of options. This is its automated settings. So I'm going for streaming. It's a video, it's live. I don't want to really compress it. Next, it will wait for me to play and then do its own assessment of what needs tweaking. Analyzing audio, it's going to set the EQ. I learned a lot from watching this set EQ about what was going on in my mixes. Okay, I should say at this point, the output from Isotope, it comes into the studio speakers. It won't come through and be recorded, so you're just hearing the difference through this mic. But let's just quickly dive into it. What's happened in the EQ? It's gone, oh, okay, cool. It's raised up this bass, which I don't need that. There's nothing in that scenario. If this was a band mix, that'd be really useful. It's raised the low mids overall, so it's saying it's a little bit thin essentially in the mix that I've got, just tweaking those out. So great, I'm happy with that. I'm gonna leave its own assessment there. I took out a couple of parts that stood out. Just basically, you're not gonna see where I'm pointing on the screen. I'll put some arrows on, and it's raised that overall area a little bit and taken out some of the highs alongside boosting. Actually, interestingly, boosting where I took out some frequencies there. No, in fact that's higher. I think I took out frequencies around 5k that I didn't like. So let's put something in. Great, happy with that. It's set a maximizer that basically what it's doing is it's evening out those levels even a little bit more. So if I wanted to go for a really polished version, awesome, wonderful. Let's export that pre-mix. This is now the master mix, I guess. Wave file 48. We're going to go with 24-bit. And what I'm going to do is export this in. And sometimes I will do this just because my computer's a bit old, it's a bit slow, and it's easier for me to export that audio, have all that data, the compressor, the EQ, another compressor, the reverb on another channel, all put into one file and then exported. So that's done. I'll now go back into Final Cut and import this master file. Wonderful. And this is the part that you want to be careful with, is I've now got sometimes it works out and it lines up perfectly. other times it does not. So I've now got to go and check these waveforms and make sure they line up, and you can see that there's a discrepancy here. Actually there's a nice peak, a nice spike for me to match up. What iZotope often does, it adds a tiny bit of blank audio right at the start, so you'll see there's just a tiny little gap there. So all I want to do is come down and line this up again with a quite slow computer. We're getting there, we're getting there. Just waiting for it to process those waveforms. Just thinking. There we go. Okay, so I'm lining this new audio that I brought in up with the others, and I want to zoom in nice and close and get that lined up. So we're going to roll with that. Then for simplicity, I'm going to detach the audio there and mute. Oh. Mute those. So now what I've got this video file with no audio, and I've got the master file where we've got the reverb. Everything's baked in. I can't change that now. So it's something to be wary of. We would have had a nice mix previously. This just adds a little bit of love, a little bit of compression. You can see that these are now closer. Those tops are getting compressed a bit more, and we have a bit more of a studio polished track to go with it. So we also have, and this is the downside of using something like iZotope with the compression, we've brought up the noise floor, and you can hear, I'm going to go and find that that frequency, because that's not super pleasant, and see if we can remove it. That is the sound of the camera that's recorded coming into the, you can hear that high pitched. But we've got a pretty nice sound. This is with our reverb in there.
I see this night coming.
Okay, my computer's really straight. Let's just find, I'm going to cancel that for a moment. So we're just working with the audio. Same approach, I'm adding an EQ. Basically all I want to find is that high-pitched frequency that's sitting in there that's not so pleasant.
Tongue, it's like I'm 16 all over again. Got
Somewhere
my
up there.
t-shirt and favorite jeans on, but I still ain't got a clue. Look up, you catch my eye and for a
Okay, that's where it is. It's not very nice. Interestingly, that seems around where we boosted things before, so I think what might be happening is obviously iZotope is not aware of whether those audio signals are what we want or not. Let's just see if that's a bit nicer.
I'm hypnotized. I see this light coming. Cat's got my tongue.
Okay, so
it's like I'm 16.
It's still there, but we've reduced it a little bit. We've got a reasonable mix. I think that's a pretty good result from camera-only audio that was recorded very, very low in the mix, to not bring up too much noise. So I will post this as a standalone video, so you can go and watch the end result and have a listen. And then part 2, we're going to go through the same process, but what I do is record the individual, my mic that you can see here, and my guitar via DI, goes through all my pedals. and then into the live track L8, so I get two separate signals, and I'll show you how I mix them inside of Final Cut as well, along with the end result of the mixed product, so you can see. But hopefully this has given you all a nice insight into what I do, and hopefully this process for yourself, you'll learn things along the way as you do it, as you mix and think, this mix doesn't sound great, what's going on. I often, through my process of learning, I will mix something, I will delete, if I'm not happy with it, I will delete absolutely everything. I will delete the compression, I will delete the EQ, I will start from scratch. And I find that that process of going through it once and listening to it really helps when I do another mix from square one. So I'll export this video. Thanks for tuning in. Look out for part 2, and Chris, I'm aware part 2 I will explain what I normally do in terms of having separate audio, but I really wanted to create this video because I feel like for a lot of people, they feel stuck, they feel stopped from recording just with your phone, with a camera, and using that audio and doing a few of these tweaks to make it turn out pretty nice. So I hope you've enjoyed, I hope you learned something from it. We'll see you in the next video in part 2, and have a happy day, I guess. I hope you're having an amazing one already. See you later.
Love in an instant, baby, it's true, I got a bad case of falling for you. Well, love in an instant, that's where it lives here.